And we are live. Welcome, Mystery and Thriller fans. I'm your on-air host, Sara DiVello, and I am so excited to welcome tonight Marcy McCreary, here to give us the inside scoop on her latest book, The Summer of Love and Death, the night before the book comes out. Marcy, welcome to Mystery and Thriller Mavens. Tell us about this book.
It is so great to be here, Sara. Thank you for inviting me on. Okay, so a little bit about the book. This is the third book in a standalone series featuring Detective Susan Ford and her father, retired Detective Will Ford. So Susan is called to a crime scene where the director of a summer stock theater has been murdered, and they were putting on the play Murder on the Orient Express. So that's a nice, fun sort of like hum underneath the plot. And later on, she meets up with her dad and she begins to describe the scene of the crime. And the scene of the crime was pretty gruesome, a very, very specific MO. And he's like finishing her sentences. And he's like, she says, well, where did you hear about this? And he says, well, you are describing the very first case I had as a detective in 1969. But the perp is long dead. So what is going on here? And that's the setup.
What is going on here indeed? We are so excited to find out and to chat with you about this book and your writing process and the series and everything. So first, I just want to welcome everybody because we are broadcasting live to 7 different destinations across Facebook and YouTube. So hey, mystery and thriller loving friends, no matter where you're watching from, you are in the right place. It is the right time. It is Mystery Monday. And because Mondays can be murder, we're going to make it a little less painful and get your week off to a killer start. So if you've been here before, you know the drill. And if you're new, well, welcome, mystery and thriller loving friends. We are so happy to have you. Here's the drill. Every Monday, I give you my handpicked featured authors, and you get to ask them anything you want about their writing process, their creative process, their characters, anything at all. So just get those questions going in the comments and I will get them right after her. Randy is joining us live from YouTube. He says, hi, Sara and Marcy. Thank you for joining us today. Hi, Randy, and your on-brand Black Kitty. I love it. Robin is joining us from Facebook saying, hello, Sara and Marcy. Hi, Robin. Welcome to the conversation. Jennifer is joining us from YouTube saying, hi, Sara and Marcy. Hi, Jennifer. Welcome. Robin says, what is going on here? Exactly. My question as well. So it's where our life starts to imitate art. So Marcy, tell us how you got this idea. Because I mean, I get the Christie fans here. How did you get this idea that they would be putting on the play and then the director would turn up dead and it would tie to this case that her dad investigated 50 years ago?
Well, the first idea I got was not Murder on the Orient Express. I was actually thinking about writing a prequel to the 2 other books. So, and if I did that, it would be set probably in the 60s during the heyday of the Catskills region where, it's called the Borscht Belt because it was an area where Jewish families can go, think Dirty Dancing or The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. And I would really wanted to set the book in that time frame. So I kind of had that discussion with my publisher and they were like, no, it's a series. It needs to go forward in order. So that got me thinking about the nostalgia of the area and how I might be able to draw that in through maybe a cold case. Really couldn't quite figure it out yet. And then the second aha moment came when I was watching the 1974 film of Murder on the Orient Express. And I just remembered that a friend of mine who's in the theater and who actually someone in my acknowledgments section, who's an actress, told me that there was a theater adaptation of it. I was like, okay, that's interesting. And the area is known for its summer stock theaters. So that started to sort of gel. So now I've got the nostalgia, thinking about how I could tie that in. I got the Murder on the Orient Express. And then the third aha moment was when I read an article in the New Yorker about intergenerational trauma, about how not only from the victim side of the family, but from the perp side of the family, sort of if things don't get corrected, how the descendants of a crime also pay the price. And from the victim point of view, it's like, if somebody wasn't caught, it's this unbelievable need to blame someone for all of the terrible things that have happened in their own lives. And from the perp's point of view, it's just trying to hide behind a horrible thing that people might think that you have a killer gene. It might be passed down. And so both sides of the equation are deeply affected by intergenerational trauma when there is a crime. So now I had my three pieces, and that's how it came together. And I'm a pantser. And I just sat down and I started to write and thought a little bit about the structure, about doing a dual timeline. And I was off to the races, just having those three thoughts in my head.
I love how you tied this together. And I notice, Marcy, that you're wearing a peace sign, which figures very prominently, not just on the cover of the book, but in the murder itself and the way that the body has been staged, which the murders, the serial killer murders that her father was investigating 50 years ago also had a peace sign. And tell us about, how did you think of that strange and gory detail?
Okay, so this is such a great story. So my publisher sent me the cover ideas. Yeah, my publisher sent me a bunch of cover ideas. So I put in sort of like they give me a marketing cover brief, and I get to put in some ideas about mood and objects and things that I want to see on the cover. And mostly I talked about like DNA, maybe looking psychedelic, whatever. And they sent me like 10 cover art to sort of choose from. You know, what direction do I like? And they sent me this one. And I was like, well, I love it. It's great, except for one thing. There's no peace sign necklace in my story.
Oh my God, you went back and wrote it in?
I did. And so it was immediate. So that night I thought about it because I really loved this cover over all other covers. So I said, let me think about this, because when you think about intergenerational trauma, it's the passing of genetic trauma, right? From generation to generation. What if I had a true physical manifestation of that? Now, I don't want to give too much away because it is important to the plot, right? But that made me think about using this peace sign, this stained glass, I guess I can describe it, the stained glass peace sign, as the physical manifestation of something that's hereditary, that is passed down, as opposed to sort of the more, loosey-goosey idea of genetic material or trauma. But that's how that came to be. And then I found this, and then I Googled stained glass peace sign necklace, and I found a place in Maine that made these.
Oh my God, perfect. Because it's so, I had no idea that you went back, that you loved the cover. The cover is so fabulous. I mean, you see the necklace here and the peace sign, but I had no idea. Renee is saying great cover. Randy saying peace, love, and Charles Manson. Exactly. See, Randy, we're vibing. We always are vibing. But I love knowing that you loved this cover so much that you went back and bought it and rewrote it to include, because I don't think I'm giving anything away, that the body is staged very dramatically with a peace sign on the body, which the bodies 50 years ago also staged with this peace sign. So wait, are you saying that before you saw this cover, they just didn't have the peace signs on the body? They just were staged with everything else?
No necklace, nothing.
Oh my God, that's so crazy.
Right? And when people read the book and they're like, wait a second, like, how did you weave that in there? I'm like, well, in the development, I have a great editor. And in the developmental edit, they do give me a lot of time to kind of think things through, to just weave the story in a better way. I mean, I'm really kind of thinking through these things. So as I'm reading, as I'm editing, I'm thinking, where can I put this aspect of the story? And I again, I don't want to give too much away. There is a difference between the peace sign necklaces in the 1969 cases than in the current case. But it came, I swear to God, it was not it came like that night, because I had to tell them the next day, let's go with this because I have an idea.
Oh my God, Marcy, that's so cool to know. I had no idea, because it's, when you're reading the book, it's so integral to the weird staging of the body that I literally, my mind is blown that you added that in later. Jennifer saying peace, love, and John Wayne Gacy. Exactly, Jennifer, we're vibing. You get it. Renee has a question. She's saying, wait, are you saying that trauma is in people's DNA?
I'm not saying it. The experts do say it. So if you think about some of it is they believe is in the DNA. It changes your DNA, and so that sense of trauma, that sense of trouble, that sense of anxiety can possibly be passed down. Some of it's just the fact that if your generation of family does not seek help or stop the dominoes, that trauma is just going to continue. So if you think about intragenerational trauma. When you think about the Holocaust or slavery, that's two that scientists use a lot, sort of that is manifests itself through the generations, that trauma. You could see it today in anti-Semitism. You could see it today in racism. I mean, it does exist. Whether you're feeling it personally through your genetics, that's up for discussion amongst the science community. And again, there's a wonderful article in the New Yorker on this subject matter, and I can't think of it right now, but it's intergenerational trauma, and I probably read it around the time that I was thinking about what I was going to write about the book, so probably like three years ago. I mean, that's when I started, 2 years ago, that's when I started writing it.
And Renee has a follow-up question. She's saying, what was the trauma? Because you were saying there's trauma on both sides. So
in my book in particular, so it was the 1969 serial killer murders. So yes, the family of the killer and the family of the victims.
Yes, thank you. Okay, perfect. So, you guys, the book drops tomorrow. It is a very groovy summer of 2024. I'm already I'm already back in Woodstock. And you can pre-order tonight from our favorite woman-owned independent bookstore, that is Murder by the Book. So you can pre-order The Summer of Love and Death, and just, put on some Jimi Hendrix and Janis Joplin and just, a boogie and read. Here is that link. And I want to share some of the incredible praise that the book is earning as well. Oh, Alan is saying that these changes are changes based on secondary characteristics of DNA methylation that can be passed from one generation to the next. Oh, that is fascinating. Thank you, Alan.
Yeah, I did read about that. No, I don't want the book to become like a scientific study. So you don't find any of that in the book. So the research is done, so it's in the back of my head. It just turns out that Susan Ford's daughter is a psychologist. So when they need sort of a sense of what is going on, she describes it in layman terms. She's not going to go through the scientific version, because I also don't want to, I also don't want my readers to fall asleep in a scientific textbook. So it's more, it's more of the sense of it, and it could be environmental. Yes, I think everyone should read this article because it's a mix of things. It's environmental in that if you do not change the trajectory of the trauma, you're going to be living within that environment of the trauma from generation to generation. And the, sort of a woman whose husband was killed all of a sudden can't get her act together, can't care for her children, can't, be the strong role model because she's falling apart. That's going to affect the children. So, and epigenetics. Yeah. So, so all of that plays into it. Again, it's not like it's an idea and a theme within the book. It's not heavily constant. I don't really go into it in every detail because it's important, but it's not important from a scientific point of view. I'm trying to make the book fun, right? So novel.
Alan's clarifying that's epigenetics. Renee is saying thank you. Yeah, exactly.
I think I did more research on Woodstock and how law enforcement was managed at Woodstock than I did about intergenerational trauma. That was more interesting to me.
Well, it's funny, Marcy, because my mother went to Woodstock, and so she was one of the 500,000 there, so celebrating peace and love, and 3 of my aunts and 1 of my uncles, and so I feel like as soon as I heard this had a Woodstock connection, I had to read it. Okay, so I want to talk about some of the amazing praise that this book has earned. Natalie Symons, who's the author of Lies in Bone and on the Disappearance of Trudy Solomon, calls the book refreshingly smart, witty, and sophisticated. Oops, I'm going to pop this up so we can all read it together. But I just got a new computer.
That was a blurb on my earlier book, but she's read all my books. Like she's like, okay, yeah, that applies to all your books.
Yay. Okay. Perfect. And May Cobb calls it propulsive, addictive, with lush, visceral prose and thickly layered characters. And I know we have a lot of May Cobb fans in the house as well. Renee wants to know, how are you going to celebrate your pub day tomorrow, Marcy?
Well, I am in New York. That is why I'm in a hotel. and I am going to do my release event at the Mysterious Bookshop, and I have the best interview partner that anyone can ask for.
Who is it, Marcy?
It's the fabulous Sara DiVello.
Yay! So, yes, this is very exciting, Renee. Thank you so much for asking. So, not only do I get to host Marcy tonight for a special exclusive sneak peek into the summer of love and death, but tomorrow I get to celebrate with Marcy in person at the Mysterious Bookshop in New York, where we will be chatting. In person. So that's going to be so fun. Yay!
Day and night. Oh yeah, day night. I've got champagne chilling in a little refrigerator here to share with my.
Oh my God, I love it. Marcy's already. Are you breaking that open tonight at 12:01, Marcy?
I think so. Oh
my God, I love it. Exactly. You have the summer of love and death needs champagne, all the time.
When the Disappearance of Trudy Solomon came out, it was September 7th, 2021. And I was on Nantucket, and Delta reared its ugly head. And Lou and I, our dinner reservations were canceled. The entire town was closed. And that was my launch. Like everything I was supposed to do was canceled. And yeah. Yeah. And it was the saddest launch. So I'm so excited about this one.
Yay!
With me, Sara, the Mysterious Bookshop, and the Bookstagrammers, and just all of the support from other authors around this book has just really made up for that absolutely horrible year.
Yay! Renee saying, wow, your mom must have had an amazing time. I know. I think she definitely did. I think everyone who went to Woodstock had a wild and good time. Jane, welcome to the conversation. So good to see you. She wants to know, Marcy, what you working on now?
I just finished a new novel that has nothing to do with the Ford family series. It's called Dirty Water, and it is a police procedural set in Boston. And I'm actually like the comps are Thursday Murder Club meets Rizzoli and Isles. So it's 4 retired detectives. One of them is dying of cancer, and she wants to find out who murdered her sister in 1992. So it's set against the music and mob scene of 1990s Boston. And it's these 4 retired detectives who are trying to solve 2 cold cases in Boston.
Oh my gosh, what a great name. And all of your, marketing should be done to that, love that dirty water. That will be so perfect. Renee's saying, oh my gosh, have an amazing, awesome time, Marcy and Sara. Robin saying, yes, together in person. Please post pictures. We will. Oh my gosh. I know. How fun would it be if it was always this way? If we could do, in person, virtual, and then in person the next day. Oh, Renee, you'll be with us in spirit. Don't you worry. And we will post pictures. Oh my goodness. Jane says the new book sounds so good. Oh my gosh, doesn't it, Jane? It sounds so good. Renee saying the novel you just finished sounds incredible. Yay. Wow. So Marcy, what do you love about police procedurals? Because I love police procedurals too. And I was so happy because I feel like so many people right now are getting pressured or feeling pressured to write psychological thrillers, but Girl loves a traditional police procedural. Tell us what you love about them.
I think because I grew up reading them. Like if I think back, like if I think about the Agatha Christie novels that I like, they were Hercule Poirot. So they were professional detective series. P.D. James probably is my number one influence for writing police procedural because I read her as a teenager in my early years. And I just thought it was so clever. So a lot of the early books I read were are British based, Val McDermid and Denise Mina, or UK or Scotland, or I just really, Vera. So I really just kind of gravitated towards it. I like the logic of it, where they uncover a clue and that leads to the next clue. And I think as a pantser, that just makes it easier to write. I like a pool of suspects. I like the buddy detective trope, so the father-daughter sort of that came out of that. And so I think I grew up reading them. So I was familiar with structure and banter and, clues and red herrings and pacing. I think when you read a lot in one particular genre, it becomes the genre that's going to be the one that you're going to want to write. So I think that's why. And these days I read a lot of American police procedurals too, but I tend to graduate. Kate Atkinson, Tana French. I'm constantly like going over the pond to read, I think, British police procedural.
Now, a fun fact about Marcy. Marcy is a twin, which I am obsessed with twins. I always wished I was a twin. Marcy, have you ever thought about writing a twin book, either a twin, investigation team, the buddy trope, maybe a twin trope, or a twin on the other side of, a victim?
Okay, Sarah, that is such a great idea. And no, I haven't thought about that. Identical twins and using that to their advantage.
I'm obsessed. Wait, because are you an identical twin or
We're identical twins?
Oh my God,
you're gonna meet her tomorrow. So
oh my God, I'm gonna meet the twin.
You gotta be there. She wears her hair straight. That's the difference between us. So you can really tell us apart now, but back in the day, like no way. I mean, if we both wear our hair up like this, like you're not going to tell the difference. So I did think of a book called Borrowed Identity, which was more of a psychological thriller. And I got about 4 chapters in and I don't know, I bagged it. I was like, I don't know if this is going anywhere, but I do have ideas. But I have to say, I really love the idea that you just brought up about.
I'm obsessed with twins. I like weirdly obsessed.
I really love that idea. Oh my God, I might drop the book I'm writing now to.
Well, don't drop Dirty Water. You gotta
no, Dirty Water's done. Like Dirty Water is out on submission. No, Dirty Water's done.
Oh my God. Randy's saying, my wife and I both think this sounds like such a great read. Ordering it tomorrow. Randy, thank you. Oh my goodness. So here is that link for anyone who wants to order it today or tomorrow. Get your mitts on this police procedural for all of us investigators. And I think for me, like I grew up reading first Nancy Drew, then P.D. James. And I think it's about wanting to be that detective, right? Like wanting to be that amateur detective where you're like, I want to investigate and be, on the case. And so that police procedurals let us live vicariously through that. Oh, wait, is your twin a writer too? Renee wants to know.
No, she
that would be just too cool for me. My brain would.
She's the assistant general manager at the Tamarack Country Club in Greenwich, Connecticut. She used to be a chef and got a little burnt out there. And now, so she's on the other side of the business. She's on the business side of it.
Oh my God, I love it. Okay, so Marcy, I want to harken back. You said you're a pantser. So walk us through that. You literally sat down to write this and you were like, you'd read the 3 articles and you're thinking about Woodstock and Dirty Dancing and the Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. And then you're just like, let me see where this goes. Like, that's it.
Yeah. So I knew I started off with Susan on her way to the precinct because she's about to meet her new partner. So in the Disappearance of Trudy Solomon and the Murder of Madison Garcia, she's flying solo and she's finally partnered up. So I wanted to change the dynamic with how her father gets involved. So if they were always like buddy, like it kind of felt like I was, rehashing the same thing. So I start with her going out the door. It's pouring rain, just like it was that weekend. And she notices the poster and she sort of thinks about it a little bit. So that sort of sets
the Woodstock poster.
Yeah, the Woodstock poster sort of sets her thinking about how in Woodstock, there was this sense that it really, things can go horribly wrong with what happened, but it turned out to be an absolutely incredible experience. So she tries to sort of absorb some of that notion as she walks out the door. And then she meets her new partner. They don't get off on a good foot right away. And right away they go off to this crime scene. So really the action starts like right at the beginning. And again, I'm pantsing. I write scene by scene. I write probably, when I was writing this, I was writing about 800 to 1,200 words a day. I would get to the end of a scene or the end of a chapter, and I would put it aside. The next day I go back, I read what I wrote the day before, just to kind of, maybe tweak a little bit, but really just to continue the momentum. And I continue on. I write every day because I kind of feel if you're pantsing, if you don't do it consistently, you're going to lose the thread. Quite honestly, I mean, I really think there's a momentum when it comes to pantsing. I can't rely on a plot I've already come up with. So yeah, so I'm really just making it up as I go along. It's all discovery. I'm letting Susan take me.
Do you ever paint yourself into a corner or write yourself into a corner?
Yes,
Yeah.
but it comes much later when I've gotten to about 3/4 of the way. I'm like, okay, where's this going? I know I need to wrap it up like in the next, so I have the beats in my head. Like
Uh-huh.
I have sort of like it's there. I sort of structure it in 3 acts, and so I do have the beats in my head. And so when I'm getting to that sort of the act 3, that's when I might think, oh my God, I've painted myself into a corner. And what I'll do is I'll reverse outline. I'll go to the very beginning and I'll do
Uh-huh.
a reverse outline and kind of see where everything is. And this way I can get myself out of little corners. I didn't run into too many corners with The Summer of Love and Death. I did with Dirty Water. And the reason
Ooh.
was because I wasn't writing every day.
Uh-huh. Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. Well, Christina McDonald, who came on for her book in June, had some words to say as well. She said, an old case has repercussions and a new copycat killing in this excellent police procedural with juicy twists, an engaging cast, and an intriguing case that's impossible to predict. The Summer of Love and Death is everything I want in a mystery, an addictive and entertaining ride. She is the USA Today bestselling author, and she's not the only one raving. Lori Robbins, who is the author of Murder in Fourth Position. I'm going to pop this up so we can all read it, saying this is a compelling mystery that unfolds in 2 skillfully woven parallel narratives. McCreary pairs a haunting meditation on intergenerational trauma with an evocative rendering of that famous Summer of Love to deliver a suspenseful and deeply satisfying read. Laurie Robbins weighing in with that bit of praise as well. And I'm going to put some other reviews as well from Tony Wirt, Nina Waxman, Amelia Neymark, and Elise Hart Kidness, who's coming on in October for her book as well, in the comments, so you can all read them at your leisure. Marcy, we had some questions submitted by people in advance who are going to watch the replay later. Let's look first at this one from Anne with an E, and she said, any advice for an aspiring author?
Oh my God. Write every day. I think, just get started, get your words down. I think if you write 300 words or 500 words or 700 words, the key is just to write. I mean, that's the best advice. If I don't write, it doesn't get done. And even if, the other thing that, again, I do this, I don't know if this is, I hate giving advice because I think writing is so personal. But when I go to sleep and when I wake up, I feel like I'm in a certain sort of brain space where I just try to sort of focus on the book. What do I need to write next? And in that sort of creative state, I actually come to my book in the morning with an idea of where I need to go, right?
Oh, interesting.
I've heard other authors say the same thing, that there's this sort of magical state when you're either falling asleep or waking up that informs you of something to move forward with. And that does work for me. So, but just write. I mean, really just write. You can always go back and edit. You can always go, but if you don't write, you're not, just try to get forward propulsion in a story.
So interestingly, my former neighbor used to teach at Harvard Business School, and she used to teach creativity. And she said the time that people have the most creative ideas are when they're right before they fall asleep, right when they wake up, when they are in the shower, and when they're driving. And that is when your logical, thinking brain is a little more relaxed and your creative brain can come up with ideas. So saying that you wake up with ideas is actually in alignment with what she has, with what the research shows as well.
And I'm proactive. It's not like I'm laying there and the idea comes out. I'm actually saying to myself, I need to think, where am I going with this? What's the next scene? What's a piece of dialogue I can think of to get the action going? So it's not, it's pretty proactive, even though I'm in that waking up stage.
Right. Exactly. That's a good point. And yeah. Are you thinking about it when you go to sleep?
Yeah. Yeah. It puts me to sleep. It's actually helps me fall asleep, thinking about what I need to do the next day. And you would think, okay, I might come up with like some clever dialogue, and I'm like, I should probably write it down, and I don't remember it exactly, but it
Uh-huh.
does give me the spark to remember where it is I was planning on going in the story.
Oh my God, I love that. Okay, you guys, I'm just finishing putting all of Marcy's incredible blurbs. I.S. Berry, Katie Nguyen, Jamie,
And
Lynn
Hendren,
Hendricks, Mandy McHugh, Erin Flanagan, and so many more weighing in with their bits of praise for the book. And we would not have time to get to all of them because there's so many people who just were so excited about this book. But I am putting them in there because I know people like to read them at their leisure and in their own time, so they are there for you, as well as the Library Journal, who says, verdict, McCreary's entertaining police procedural stands apart with its rich characterization and exploration of life's complexities beyond the central crime. This is a series to watch and to suggest to fans of Ellen Hart's Jane Lawless novels. So
yeah.
congratulations. Renee's clapping. Exactly right. Well, Marcy, thank you so much for coming on to give us the inside scoop about The Summer of Love and Death the night before the book comes out. And so once again, I'm going to drop the link to the pre-order Murder by the Book in the comments, and go get a snack, get a drink, and I will be back at the top of the hour with real life reporter Linda Hurtado Bond. All right, y'all, that is a wrap. Hang tight.